Apex Court reduces first death sentences to life imprisonment. Government has no immediate plan to regulate e-hailing fare. Good evening and Salam Malaysia Madani. I'm SAHIH and this is Malaysia Tonight. The federal court commuted the death sentence and natural life imprisonment of 11 individuals who were convicted of drug trafficking under the revision of sentence of death and imprisonment for natural life of temporary jurisdiction of the Federal Court Act.
7 of the death row inmates, including 2 Thai nationals, had their death sentences commuted to life imprisonment of 30 years, while another 4 had their natural life imprisonment sentences commuted to life imprisonment of 30 years. The 3-member bench comprising Chief Justice Tun Tunku Maimun Tuan Mat, Chief Judge of Malaya Tan Sri Muhammad Zabidin Muhammad Diah, and Federal Judge Dato Nordin Hassan heard the reviews from the 11 individuals and allowed their applications. They are the first batch of inmates whose review applications were heard by the federal court bench today. Another 14 review applications will be heard by the court on Thursday. Minister in the Prime Minister's Department, Law and Institutional Reform, Dato Sri Azlina Othman Syed, said today's hearing proves that the principle of restorative justice in the criminal justice system in Malaysia is always maintained. She reminded that the imposition of the death penalty for criminal offences still remained as part of the country's justice system. However, she said the death penalty is no longer mandatory and the amendments to the law gave judges the discretion to impose the appropriate punishments.
The extradition process for former Special Action Force UTK member Sirul Azhar Umar cannot be carried out because he has been sentenced to death in the country while Australia does not recognise the punishment. Home Minister Dato Sri Saifuddin Nasution Ismail said the man can only be brought back if the sentence against him meets the principle of dual criminality, meaning having the same punishment in both Malaysia and Australia.
Walaupun kita ada perjanjian ekstradisi, dia ada satu perbezaan di situ. Okay? Itu fakta pertama. Yang kedua, kita memang ada banyak perjanjian disebut MLA, Mutual Legal Agreement di antara Malaysia dan banyak negara lain, termasuk Australia. Dengan Australia ini adalah Mutual Assistance in Criminal Matters Act. Itu tahun 2002, MACMA. Namun prinsip dual criminality juga terpakai dalam akta ini.
As such, he said Sirul Azhar has the right, through his lawyer, to submit an application for a review of the sentence imposed on him in line with developments in Malaysia, which has abolished the mandatory death penalty this year. Earlier, it was reported that Sirul Azhar was released from the Villawood Immigration Detention Centre in Sydney, Australia on 11th November. Sirul Azhar, convicted of the murder of Mongolian Altantuya Sharibu in 2006, was released after 9 years in the custody of the Australian immigration authorities since 2015.
Police will not compromise in investigating any of its officers and rank-and-file personnel involved in misconduct and criminal activities. Inspector General of Police Tan Sri Razaruddin Hussein stressed this following the arrest of 3 policemen from the Special Branch of the Putrajaya District Police Headquarters on suspicion of kidnapping and criminally intimidating a foreign man.
Tan Sri Razaruddin also assured a transparent and detailed investigation regarding the case is being carried out.
Sebenarnya saya yang minta KP bagi melihatkan bahawa kita tak ada kompromi dengan mana-mana pegawai dan anggota kiranya dia terlibat dengan mana-mana jenis ataupun dadah ataupun mana-mana perkara.
The 3 policemen aged between 28 and 34 were arrested at the office of the Criminal Investigation Division of the Gombak District Police Headquarters last Friday, following a report from a foreign man about the incident. Earlier, Tan Sri Razaruddin witnessed the handover of duties to Sarawak Police Commissioner Datuk Muhammad Azman Ahmad Sapri as the new Bukit Aman Traffic Investigation and Enforcement Department Director, replacing Datuk Sri Mat Kasim Karim, who retired from the force in September.
Yang di-Pertuan Agong Al-Sultan Abdullah Riyatuddin Al-Mustafa Billah Shah received over 65 million ringgit in business tide for 2022 and 2023 on behalf of the Federal Territories Islamic Religious Council Zakat Collection Centre. The symbolic ceremony for the payment of 65,379,959 ringgit from 16 corporate companies took place at Istana Negara.
The 16 companies, including Companies Commission of Malaysia, FGV Group, Lembaga Tabung Haji, Tenaga Nasional Berhad, Bank Islam Malaysia Berhad, CIMB Islamic Bank Berhad, Co-op Bank Pertama Malaysia Berhad, and Bank Kerja Sama Rakyat Malaysia Berhad. Others are TH Travel Sendirian Berhad, Intellectual Property Cooperation of Malaysia, Etika General Takaful Berhad, Rakyat Management Services Sendirian Berhad, Etika Family Takaful Berhad, Malakoff Cooperation Berhad, Percetakan Nasional Malaysia Berhad, and Wasco Berhad. Meanwhile, the Zakat Collection Centre in a statement said it had successfully collected over 109 million ringgit in business tithe from 3,504 contributors between January and October this year. With the end of 2023 fast approaching, it also urged the Muslim community to expedite their zakat payments to avoid last-minute transactions.
Up next in business, government to cooperate with banks on energy transition financing mechanism. Stay tuned. The government has no immediate plans to regulate e-hailing fares, which includes setting the floor price per trip. Transport Minister Anthony Loke said that setting the e-hailing floor price is a complex task that requires finding a balance between the needs of drivers and users.
Elaborating further, Loke said if the floor price is set at a certain rate, there is a possibility that the user's fares might increase. He added that fare prices are flexible based on real-time factors and variables such as traffic congestion, weather, distance, time, as well as demand and supply must also be taken into account. The minister also said the Land Public Transport Agency has engaged in discussions with key players in the e-hailing industry.
Dan maklum balas diterima adalah yang pertama, syarikat memberikan galakan kepada rakan pemandu untuk beroperasi di kawasan tumpuan melalui insentif yang ditawarkan oleh syarikat masing-masing bagi memenuhi permintaan semasa. Dua, sebagai contoh, salah satu syarikat penyedia perkhidmatan e-hailing membuat penawaran insentif secara seminggu lebih awal kepada pemandu melalui notifikasi aplikasi pemandu. Tawaran insentif yang diumumkan boleh membantu rakan pemandu merancang waktu operasi yang sesuai dan jumlah pendapatan yang disasarkan.
The Ministry of Plantation and Commodities is confident that Malaysia's exports of palm oil and palm oil-related products to China will further increase this year, with higher demand particularly from the Republic's oleochemical and animal feed sectors that are growing rapidly.
As part of our ongoing commitment to further strengthen this trade bridge, Malaysia is proactively exploring innovative ways to maximize the value and versatility of palm oil and expand its reach in various markets. This trade reflects the essence of a partnership, mutual respects, understanding and shared vision for a sustainable, prosperous future.
Deputy Prime Minister Datuk Seri Fadilah Yusof also said the government will continue to seek ways to improve the trade in palm oil, which is advantageous to both countries. This includes initiatives to fuel investments in research and development initiatives aimed at introducing an array of new palm-based products to the global market. He emphasized that the bilateral trade is a win-win cooperation as it benefits both China and Malaysia, and these included financial institutions, logistics companies, and other industries that have multiplier impacts.
The government is planning to collaborate with the financial sector to create an energy transition financing mechanism for companies to participate in green projects. According to Economy Minister Rafizi Ramli, to complement the National Energy Transition Roadmap and ETR initiatives, there is a need to create an overall ecosystem where the industry can contribute towards realizing green projects, not necessarily only related to solar or hydrogen projects.
But as we talk about energy transition, there are many sectors or industries or even projects that may not qualify for green funding. Take for example, if you bring equipment to increase energy efficiency, by definition, that is not green projects. But increasing energy efficiency is part and parcel of the energy transition. So we are looking at working with the banking and finance industry in order to develop another stream of financing, which we call transitioning financing.
He noted, through the NETR, the government has allocated 2 billion ringgit in financing for energy transition projects, and the ministry will work with financial institutions to see how much can be allocated for the new mechanism. Rafizi said he believes that the initiative would be reciprocated and complemented by the banks and the financial industry so that the new financing for energy transition could be rolled out soon. The minister was met after delivering his keynote address at the Asian Strategy and Leadership Institute, ASLI, Banking and Finance Summit 2023 today.
Local mid-tier companies, MTCs, are expected to continue to record positive export results next year as a result of penetrating new markets as well as taking advantage of existing free trade agreements and two-way agreements that Malaysia participates in.
The Malaysian External Trade Development Corporation, MATRADE, Chairman Datuk Seri Rizal Marikan Naina Marikan said MTCs under the Mid-Tier Company Development Programme, or MTCDP, have recorded a cumulative annual revenue of 33.90 billion ringgit in 2022, of which 61% or 20.90 billion ringgit is from revenue generated through exports.
Syarikat ini juga telah berjaya menembusi pasaran-pasaran baru. 55 pasaran baru pada 2022. Termasuk Australia, Greece, Chile dan Mauritius. Maknanya kita berjaya mewujudkan penyertaan yang lebih ramai. Syarikat-syarikat yang mempunyai daya mampu dari segi pengeksportan yang bukan hanya boleh menerokai pasaran-pasaran di luar negara tetapi juga akan meluaskan the spin-off rantaian-rantaian ekonomi bekalan yang jauh lebih luas di peringkat domestik.
A total of 323 MTCs have participated in the MTCDP since 2014, including 23 MTCs for Wave 9, which will end their program in December this year. Datuk Seri Rizal Marikan said MATRADE also made an analysis to strengthen the presence of Malaysian companies in South Africa and South America, since the two continents can provide good opportunities for local companies, especially MTCS.
The employee salary deduction for repayment of National Higher Education Fund Corporation PTPTN loans, which used to be done manually, can now be conducted online through portal Majikan Online. The PTPN said the online services can also be used for savings in the National Education Savings Scheme.
In a statement, the PTPTN said the online service provides a convenient platform for employers with a simpler data verification and review process, with the whole salary deduction process to be conducted digitally. Meanwhile, its chief executive, Ahmad Dasuki Abdul Majid, in the same statement was quoted as saying that the portal Majikan Online is a digitalization agenda towards more efficient and effective services. He said with the portal, employers can make their employees' salary deduction transactions at any time easily, efficiently and safely. He hopes that employers can assist their workers who are PTPTN borrowers to take the opportunity to make repayments through salary deductions to enjoy the discount incentives given by the government. The government, through Budget 2024, agreed to give a 15% discount for PTPTN repayments through salary deductions from 14th October this year until 31st March next year.
The Israel-Hamas conflict in West Asia is happening at a time when economic growth is slow and interest rates are high. Concerns are mounting as the war has the potential to disrupt the world economy and even tip it into recession if more countries are drawn in.
According to Associate Professor Dr. Noor Ihsan Mohamad of the International Islamic University Malaysia, IIUM, there had been several other crises over the past 4 years before the Israel-Hamas conflict escalated, including the COVID-19 pandemic. As the global economy tries to recover from the economic slowdown due to the crises, he said the latest conflict will also leave behind an impact.
I think when we talk about the issue of conflict and also, crisis, in a way, it always gonna affect the economy in some way, and it depends a lot in terms of, how deepens and how the crisis or the conflict magnify over time. At this stage, there have not been a significant impact on the economy, although some closed economy, the regional economies had expected, to probably, go through a lower economic, growth due to the impact of the war.
He also said the risk of a slower global economic growth will depend on the energy or the oil market that could be influenced by the war, including in terms of supply disruption. Countries that are highly dependent on imported oil will be mostly affected, especially when the prices keep increasing if the conflict becomes more intense.
Another concern would be in terms of, how this rising geopolitical tension generally could take a toll on global sentiment, the sentiment of the investors. Several emerging markets and also developing countries have started to see some kind of loss of confidence among the international investors, especially countries that are facing huge external debts. And we do not want this problem to continue, especially because of this conflict that can affect the confidence in more general context, and hence can reduce the aggregate demand in the economy that may lead to slower economic growth.
Despite the concerns regarding the impact of the war on the economy, Dr. Noor Ihsan said there is also a shift of perceptions among the community worldwide, with more and more people supporting the Palestinians as Israel continues its attacks on Gaza.
We have to understand that, the Palestinians, especially those people in Gaza, had been oppressed for so many decades. And the blatant aggression of the Zionists had basically, can be considered as Gaza genocide. So to me personally, I think, we have to be together to condemn this aggression and to show support in any way to the Palestinian cause. At least, our voice could be heard. And of course, we would like to see an immediate ceasefire.
On the foreign front, APAC looking to boost economy while eyeing sustainability. Stay tuned. Malaysian Prime Minister Dato Sri Anwar Ibrahim arrived in San Francisco today for the 30th Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation APEC Economic Leaders Meeting from 14th to 17th November.
The aircraft carrying Dato Sri Anwar for his inaugural APEC meeting as the head of government landed at San Francisco International Airport, California at 9:37 p.m. local time. Prime Minister, together with other members of the delegation, were received by Minister of Investment, Trade and Industry, Tengku Datuk Seri Zafrul Aziz, Malaysian Ambassador to the United States, Datuk Seri Muhammad Nazri Abdul Aziz, and Consul General of Malaysia in Los Angeles, Anil Fariza Adenan. He was also greeted by the Assistant Chief of Protocol for Diplomatic Affairs at the United States U.S. Department of State, Nan Kennelly, on arrival. Datuk Sri Anwar, who is also the Finance Minister, is set to take the opportunity to share Malaysia's priorities and principles under the Madani Economy Framework, emphasizing inclusivity, sustainable development and cooperation for shared prosperity at the meeting.
Leaders of Asia-Pacific economies want to boost output with an eye on issues like reducing inequality and protecting the environment. Citing legislation like the Inflation Reduction Act, U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen said APEC economies recognize the potential of this strategy and are pursuing similar policies.
Elaborating further, Yellen said economic development and environmental action need to work together if the world is to combat global warming. She added after several years focused on post-pandemic recovery, 2023 was a pivotal year for APEC, a time where governments could refocus on advancing fiscal reforms to build the economies over the long run. However, she noted that economic development cannot be separated from the immediate need to wean humanity off planet-warming energy sources. At the end of the talks, Yellen also highlighted efforts to build a stable economic relationship with China are moving along the right path. She said leaders are focusing on unlocking the flow of sustainable finance as well, like by exploring ways to encourage the development of credible climate commitments and to create effective voluntary carbon markets.
In the Indo-Pacific region.
In the where?
At least 6 Palestinians were killed on early Tuesday in the occupied West Bank by Israeli forces, where at least 3 of those were killed in an Israeli drone strike.
Israeli troops shot dead another 2 Palestinians during earlier clashes in a refugee camp in the city. The worsening violence comes after more than 18 months of bloodshed that has fueled fears the West Bank could erupt into a bigger conflict and become a new front in the Israeli-Hamas war. Israeli forces have forced Palestinians to quit northern Gaza and head to the south, an area which is also being bombarded with airstrikes. Since Wednesday, as fighting has edged further into Gaza City, a large number of people have started moving south. Health authorities in Gaza said Israeli bombardment has killed more than 11,000 people since 7th October.
In sports, Serie A champions Napoli sacks head coach following underwhelming performance. Stay tuned. Kicking off our sports segment tonight, Football Association of Malaysia or FAM President Dato Hamidin Mohamad Amin is positive that Malaysia will be able to overcome Kyrgyzstan and Taiwan in Group D of 2026 World Cup qualifier and 2027 Asia Cup. Dato Hamidin said the confidence comes from the recent performance displayed by national squad recently.
Saya sebagai presiden yakin, tapi yakin saya bukan main-main tau. Yakin saya dengan kerja kena buat. Jadi kita usaha. Tapi keyakinan bukan kata cukup tinggi, tapi satu tim ni boleh makan Kyrgyzstan. Dengan Taiwan dengan semua. Oman kita akan 50-50 dengan dia di Bukit Jalil.
Malaysia will begin its campaign in the World Cup, an Asia Cup qualifier against world number 97 Kyrgyzstan in Bukit Jalil and then playing away against Taiwan on 21st November. Afterwards, Malaysia is scheduled to meet with Oman on 21st March next year.
Napoli have sacked head coach Rudi Garcia less than 4 months after taking charge, according to media reports on Monday. The Italian champions have fallen back down to earth this season, having run away with their first Serie A title since 1990 last year and currently sit in 4th place, 10 points behind league leaders Inter.
Garcia's side suffered a 1-0 defeat at home to relegation-battling Empoli on Sunday, which followed several lackluster performances in recent weeks, including a 1-1 draw with Union Berlin in the Champions League, as star striker Victor Osimhen remains sidelined with injury. The 59-year-old Frenchman was named head coach of the Cicerelli in July, succeeding Luciano Spalletti, who stepped down after leading Napoli to their first league title in 33 years. Garcia, who has also coached rivals Roma, as well as Lille, Marseille and Lyon in France, was a surprise candidate to replace Spalletti, having more recently coached Cristiano Ronaldo's Al Nassr in Saudi Arabia before taking the helm at the Stadio Diego Armando Maradona.
Two-time champion Alexander Zverev's Paul Carlos Alcaraz Nito ATP Finals debut when he produced a clean-hitting performance to triumph 6-7, 6-3, 6-4 against the Spaniard. The German is making his 6th appearance at the prestigious year-end event, having won the title in his previous outing in Turin in 2021 and in London in 2018.
And consistency in the second and third sets causing a misfiring Alcaraz problems.
And with that, we reach the end of tonight's bulletin. In our top story, Apex Court reduces first death sentences of inmates to life imprisonment under the new law. Do join us again tomorrow afternoon on TV2 World News Update. I'm SAHIH from the river to the sea. Palestine will be free. Good night.